Our new unit is about exponents. We're going to be working through this packet over the next week and a half. We're going to start on the first page together and review some basics of exponents and properties of exponents. Make sure you keep up with your packet. We will be working through it for the next week and a half. So as I complete the things on the video, you should have them on your packet as well. The first thing you need to know is, what does an exponent mean? So back from 6th grade, you've been exposed to exponents. But an exponent is just an example of repeated multiplication. It tells us how many times to multiply the base by itself. So now let's talk about parts of an exponent. What you see here is called a monomial. It has a number. That number is called a coefficient. Just like any number that's beside a variable is called a coefficient. And it always has a power of 1. We don't see an exponent in this area here by this number. And when there's not one there, that does not mean 0. That means it's a power of 1. So this has a power of 1. So make sure you're aware of that. Every number without an exponent up there has a power of 1. The next thing we're going to talk about is the number 4 and the number 2. So we have 4 and 2. These are exponents. Sometimes you call them, they'll say raised to the power of 4 or raised to the power of 2. These are exponents. The number 3 can have another name, even though it's a coefficient because it's a number beside the variable. It is also a base along with x, y, and z. These are all bases. Then, if we'll notice here, this z has no exponent, just like the 3. This exponent is a power of 1. It's not 0. There's 1 there. We just don't write it there. So this z has no exponent shown, and when we don't see an exponent, we know it still has a power of 1. Now the next section we're going to talk about when you see these expressions, these monomials. These are numbers with variables, exponents, they're being all multiplied together. How would we say that in terms of when we speak? So the first one is 15 times, because there's multiplication, when there's no sign there, this is actually being multiplied. You can think about a little dot there in between. We don't put that there, it's unnecessary, but it's 15 times x, and then because it's got a 2 exponent, that is squared. So we would write this as 15 times x squared, or raised to the power of 2. So I want you to try the other ones, pause the video, see if you can write them out in words, and then check yourself against my video. Okay, let's see how you did. So the second one is 99 times a number, and I said just number instead of m because we don't know what that number is. It's a variable, so we can call it just a number. Times a number, and it's cubed. So remember, something squared, or to the power of 2 is squared, to the power of 3 is cubed, like we worked with in volume. The next one, this is a decimal. So you have 3, that's your whole number. Anytime you see a decimal, you call it and then the place value that the 9 is in the tenths place. So we say 3 and 9/10 times b times h to the power of 4. H is the only one to the power of 4, not b. So we don't say b to the power of 4. And the next one, we have half of the product. Remember, product means multiplication. So we are multiplying a half times k to the 10th. So a half of the product of k to the power of 10 and n cubed, or we could say a number cubed. And on the last one, we have 2/3 of a number, which happens to be a, to the power of 6. Now we're going to talk about simplifying down when we have exponents involved. So we have to remember order of operations. A lot of you know PEMDAS. Please do not think that these have to go in PEMDAS. Remember, parentheses is done first. So if you can simplify in parentheses, you simplify in parentheses. Then exponents are applied. Then we know that multiplication and division have the same power, and we work them left to right. Multiplication is not more important than division. We do those left to right. And then adding and subtracting, we do and left to right as well. They have the same power, the same importance. So we don't do what you often remember, parentheses and exponent, then multiply, then divide. Multiply and divide have the same power. Add and subtract have the same power, so remember that. So I want you to take a few seconds, should be review, and work these out. Pause the video. When you've got them done, then come back and check for your answers. Here are your answers. Check and see how you did. Make sure to pay attention to the negatives, what has happened with the negatives when you do those. Be very careful. You'll notice that the last three have all the same answers, but they look very different when they're written. Negatives play a part into that. So if you're not understanding how to do that, then you need to ask questions. All right, let's go on to the next section, which is evaluating. You've done two little activities prior to starting this that you had reviewed evaluating, so this should be just now practice. So if you will pause, work these out, and see how you do. Check your answers and see how you did. Any mistakes, go back and fix. Pay attention to what you did incorrectly so that you're learning, not just copying. Now you'll go on and complete the next page of your packet, the back side, and it will let you practice this. There are a total of 13 problems. It actually starts with part 2 first and then part 1 second. It doesn't matter. It was just copied that way. So go ahead and finish your practice and then check back on Canvas for your next assignment.